Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, August the 17th, 2015. A Palestinian man who attacked an Israeli border police officer was shot and killed this morning. The attack took place at the Tapuach Junction in the West Bank. The Palestinian man approached the officers at the checkpoint there, telling them he wasn't feeling well. The officers told the man to come over to them, and when he did, he pulled out a knife and stabbed one officer, lightly wounding him. That officer managed to push the attacker away, and a second officer shot him. The attacker was treated at the scene by IDF medics but died of his wounds. This was the third such incident in the area in 48 hours. Two similar stabbing incidents took place on Saturday near the same junction, also with soldiers being lightly injured and the attackers then injured and taken into custody. Indictments were filed today with the Judea Military Court against 5 Palestinians suspected of carrying out 2 separate terrorist attacks that killed Israeli civilians in the West Bank in June of this year. Muhammad Abu Shaheen, Ashraf Ammar, and Amjad Edwan were allegedly involved in the murder of Dani Gonen, who was shot and killed near the Jewish settlement of Dolev. And Abdullah Ashak and Faiz Hamed were indicted for their role in the shooting death of Malachi Rosenfeld near the West Bank settlement of Shvut Rachel. The Associated Press reports that a settlement has been reached in the lawsuit against the Jordan-based Arab Bank. 300 plaintiffs sued the bank for knowingly helping terror group Hamas with a death and dismemberment benefit plan for suicide bombers, regarding several suicide bombings that took place in Israel in the early 2000s. Details of the settlement are not being released. The case marks the first time a bank has faced a trial under the U.S. Anti-Terrorism Act, which allows victims of U.S. designated foreign terrorist organizations to seek compensation. Hamas was designated a terrorist group by the U.S. State Department in 1997. Jewish organizations expressed their outrage over a music festival's decision to drop Jewish American performer Matisyahu from their lineup this summer for not signing a pro-Palestinian declaration. The reggae musician and singer was on the roster of the Rotterdam Sunsplash Festival, which takes place next weekend in Benicassim, Spain. According to the Jerusalem Post, the organizers had contacted Matisyahu last week, asking what his political views are on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and he responded that he doesn't insert his personal views into his music, which they seem to accept, but then on Saturday they announced they were dropping him from the program because, according to them, he was unwilling to, quote, clearly speak out against the 2014 Gaza war and the right of Palestinians to have their own state. President of the World Jewish Congress, Ronald Lauder, said this is a clear instance of anti-Semitism and nothing else. Lauder said Matisyahu was being denied performing because he is Jewish and won't side with the, quote, vicious and bigoted BDS movement, referring to the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, which seeks to delegitimize the State of Israel. The Federation of Jewish Communities in Spain condemned the incident as well, calling it cowardly, unjust, and discriminatory. The Jerusalem Post cited spokesman for Israel's foreign ministry, Emmanuel Nachshon, who noted that Matisyahu is Jewish and not Israeli. Nachshon said, "We always said that BDS was not connected to the Palestinian issue or the settlements, but was nothing more than Jew hatred." The Ruderman Family Foundation named their 5 winning Jewish organizations for this year's Ruderman Prize in Inclusion, recognizing the organization's inclusion efforts for people with disabilities in their local Jewish community. They are Youth Ability Program at the Jewish Family Service Association of Cleveland, Ohio, Room on the Bench in Brooklyn, New York, Kisharon Adult Employment Program in the United Kingdom, the Yavne Institute in Montevideo, Uruguay, and Beit Hillel in Ra'anana in Israel. The groups will receive $50,000 to continue their important work. President of the foundation, Jay Ruderman, said it is our hope that these awardees not only serve as the gold standard for disability inclusion in their communities, but for the entire Jewish community across the globe. And taking a look now at our JBS programming for tonight, Monday, August the 17th. At 7:30, the American Jewish Committee's International Director of Interreligious Affairs, Rabbi David Rosen, moderates a conversation with British Muslim activist Maajid Nawaz and AJC's Paris Director Simone Rodan Ben-Zaken about Muslim-Jewish relations in Europe. That's from the 2015 AJC Global Forum. At 8 o'clock, also from the forum, young Jewish leaders from Hungary and Amsterdam talk about challenges in their communities. At 9 o'clock, Executive Director of the Jewish Community Center of Krakow, Poland, Jonathan Ornstein talks about misconceptions people have about Polish anti-Semitism on L'chaim. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, the former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. and former Deputy Foreign Minister Dani Ayalon offers his analysis of the Iran nuclear deal with Mark Golub on In the News. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, August the 17th, 2015. I'm Teisha Bader.